Introduction to Cicada Movement. Private Detective Zuo Chong returns to the past, fighting in the heart of the enemy, nicknamed Smiling Tiger, skilled in backstabbing, proficient in the Jade Seat Golden Buddha principle, and the Stipunk formula. The first section changed to the human world. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In 1932, at the Zhejiang Police Officer School, there was a performance for the graduates of the second phase on the playground. Young people were filled with high revolutionary enthusiasm, queuing up and singing songs. Down with the great powers, down with the great powers, eliminate warlords, eliminate warlords. Strive for the national revolution, strive for the national revolution, strive together, strive together. Standing on the stands of the playground were Shi Qingji, the principal of Zhejiang Police Academy, and his successor Wang Gupan. Shi Qingji held his chest high and waved to the passing students. In front of him was the most professional police force in the entire Republic of China, which he and the chairman of the Zhejiang provincial government, Zhu Jiehua, had built together, dedicating all their efforts. Unfortunately, it's time to leave. Shi Qingji suddenly turned around and said to Wang Gupan expressionlessly, "Brother Gupan, this is up to you. I hope you can treat students well in the future, promote the spirit of excellence, diligence, prudence, and integrity, and cultivate a qualified cornerstone of police administration for our nation." Wang Gupan wore a pair of black-framed glasses, not like the principal of the police academy, but rather like a teacher. However, this person is not simple, but a backbone of the Renaissance society. In the Qing dynasty, he graduated from the Jinmen Police Academy and went to Germany to attend the Berlin Police Academy. After graduating in 1909, he returned to China and held important positions such as the police chief of the Jinpu Railway and the chief of the Jinling Police Department. Wang Gupan's coming to take over as the principal this time is a higher level game. Knowing that Shi Qingji is not worried, he nodded and said, "We all work for the party and the country. Please rest assured, Brother Qingji." The two of them spoke calmly and then turned their gaze back to the playground, feeling a bit awkward for a moment. The training director of Zhejiang Police Officer School walked up to Shi Qingji and saluted, "Report to the principal, the first and second teams of the second phase of Zhejiang Police Officer School's regular subjects, the third, fourth, and fifth teams have a total of 463 students, and the actual number is 462. Please give instructions." Although Shi Qingji came from Qiushi Academy, he first completed his preparatory studies at the Japanese Army Qingqing School, then interned at the Japanese Army Infantry Brigade, and finally entered the fourth phase of the Japanese Army Non-Commissioned Officer School. He usually values discipline the most. Upon hearing someone absent, Shi Qingji became furious and said, "Why are you absent? Haven't you learned how to enforce orders after 2 years of studying? How did you, the training director, do it?" The training director's face turned red after being trained, and he cursed in his heart that someone had picked a peach for you. However, there is a debt to the owner, and there is no need to vent his anger on me. However, due to the overwhelming pressure from the first level of the university, the training director had to explain, the reason for the serious absence of the students in the first team was due to physical discomfort. The health department has already diagnosed and confirmed it as a fever. Upon hearing that he was not absent without permission, Shi Qingji's face improved slightly, but he felt angry and could only blame the group of Mongolian doctors in the health department. "Zuo Chong, is that the student who suddenly fainted a few days ago? What's going on in the health department? A healthy person suddenly fainted, and they only diagnosed a fever. What a bunch of quacks. Keep practicing." With one command, revolutionary songs rang out again on the playground, making people's blood boil. As for Zuo Chong mentioned by Shi Qingji, he felt like he was being put into the washing machine, feeling dizzy and disoriented, with his head heavy and feet light. He couldn't open his eyes, and it seemed that someone was singing from a distance in his ear. In the darkness, Zuo Chong struggled to recall what had happened to him. He is an ordinary private detective who usually helps people find dogs, catch disloyal partners, and take some photos. Yesterday, Zuo Chong received a generous reward and got together with friends. When he woke up, he became like this. I don't know how long it took, but Zuo Chong felt a little better and seemed to have an ordinary experience of a passionate young man from the Republic of China in his mind. This person, also known as Zuo Chong, studied at a young age. In 1931, he participated in the selection of Zhejiang Police Officer School. After 2 years of study, his memory suddenly came to an end, leaving only a strong sense of resentment and ambition. Not long after, Zuo Chong felt that his consciousness had regained control of his organs, and the air was filled with a smell of lime due to the return of moisture. The hard bed board beneath him, as well as unfamiliar songs in the distance, was overwhelming. Where is this? Zuo Chong knows this is not his own room. Is someone joking with him? His mind was in a mess, with a tinge of dizziness and nausea. After a while, Zuo Chong felt the astringent eyeballs and blurry light, like an old machine starting for the first time. He tried to slowly open his eyes. Bright yet not dazzling sunlight flowed through the room, and the floating dust in the air was clearly visible. Zuo Chong felt like he was watching an old movie. Is it a bad friend who brought himself to the film and television city? Zuo Chong felt that he understood. This prank idea was really great, and many people would think they had traveled through this scene. Struggling his body that had not yet fully obeyed the command, Zuo Chong got out of bed and walked outside, ready to welcome the cheers of his friends. But when he saw the rows of rudimentary bungalows, the dusty playground in the distance, and the crowd wearing Republican police uniforms, he knew it was not a prank. Laozi has really been reborn. Zuo Chong gritted his teeth, becoming the young man of the Republic of China with the same name and surname as himself, and even the same appearance. Rebirth is not possible. It must be the Republic of China, with chaos, and human lives like grass. In a few years, the vicious and destitute little Japan will invade comprehensively. Oh, yes, in my memory, I had already had 2 matches with China in September last year and January this year. If little Japan were really like in anti-Japanese dramas, Zuo Chong wouldn't mind tearing 1 or 2 of them with his hands, but the Japanese in the 1930s were not like those anime dramas with looped legs and cockeye fights. This is insulting those sacrificial soldiers. Zuo Chong sat back on the bed with 2 lifeless eyes. What should he do in the future? He must follow the underground party and cannot isolate himself from the people. Zuo Chong, who has received years of education, still has this kind of consciousness. The Kuomintang has never paid for his 9-year compulsory education, nor has it paid for his 4-year scholarship to university, nor has it paid for the roads and high-speed trains near his home. Besides, following the same path as the master of micro-operations until it's dark, even if you drive away the devils, then what? Go to Gongda Forest as a graduate student. To study perpetual motion machines. Everyone knows how to choose. The problem is, Zuo Chong recalled several times and awkwardly found that no one had developed him, and there were no secret organizations among the students in the police academy. Isn't it true that no one in the world can resist the underground party? Sadly, it seems that my predecessor did not have the qualifications or conditions to be recruited for development. Just thinking about it, the scrutiny of professional police academies must be very strict, and the underground party mainly focuses on lurking. Who would have the leisure to develop an ordinary student? Just as Zuo Chong was daydreaming, the exercise had already ended, and each student team had been taken back to the dormitory area by their respective district captains. The outside gradually became noisy. Zuo Chong quickly lay down on the bed, but did not pretend to sleep. In front of these police officers who had received 2 years of training, pretending to sleep was definitely the stupidest choice. Just as Zuo Chong was thinking about how to face his familiar friends from the past, 2 people pushed open the door and walked in. One was their friend Xing Hanliang, and the other was their big brother Ban Jun. Xing Hanliang is also from Zhejiang, a typical playboy. Ban Jun is an old soldier who takes good care of the little brothers like Zuo Chong. As soon as they enter the door, they see a smiling Zuo Chong. Xing Hanliang exclaimed in surprise, Zuo has awakened again. It doesn't matter, everyone rushed forward, touching their heads and ears, as if he was some rare animal. No wonder he was the youngest in the dormitory, and everyone took good care of him. Hey guys, I'm just feeling unwell, don't you need to do this, right? Zuo Chong could only wrap the blanket tightly. The scene was too harmonious and scared him a bit. I'll say this kid is just pretending, he must be too lazy to act, concluded Xing Hanliang, the initiator. Ban Jun laughed and scolded, Xing Hanliang, as the doctor in the health department said clearly, Zuo Chong has a high fever. If the team leaders hear about it, it will affect Zuo Chong's future. At this point, they had already graduated, but had not yet been assigned to various police stations. It was a time of panic for everyone. Upon hearing these words, everyone finally gave up and let go of Zuo Chong. Zuo Chong gang wanted to thank him, but before Ban Jun could finish speaking, he rubbed his head hard and said, "You kid just didn't clean up. That day, you scared the brothers to death. You collapsed like a wooden stake, with a pale face like a dead person. Is it okay not to die? Otherwise, I wouldn't have been reborn into the Republic of China," Zuo Chong thought helplessly. Afraid of saying too much, Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net shifted the topic. I've been in a daze for several days, haven't I been assigned yet? Is there something unexpected? Ban Jun shook his head and said, perhaps there are other plans for going up the peak, but you happen to have peace of mind and recuperate. After saying that, he poured a cup of hot water for Zuo Chong. Xing Hanliang took off his armed belt and casually threw it onto the bed. He picked up a bucket of cold water and drank it in a daze. He wiped his mouth with his sleeve and it exploded. Damn it, there is another plan. I haven't tasted the sweetness of the first batch of students yet. The Ministry of the Interior is in a heated debate, and the lawsuit has all reached the chairman. Upon hearing Xing Hanliang's words, everyone came to their senses. The clever ones quickly handed over a chair, while others fanned the wind with their dog legs and asked him to sit down and talk in detail. Xing Hanliang was also polite, enjoying the treatment of a landlord and a talented veteran. Speaking of the secret news he learned from somewhere, he said. The two principals have opened a police academy to teach advanced police knowledge and systems from the East and West for 2 periods of 4 years. After entering police stations and the Ministry of the Interior in various regions, the senior students of the first batch have made significant contributions. Well, let's go, they've all become delicious treats. The left key nodded, referring to the memory in his mind, and found that Xing Hanliang's words were true. The teaching at Zhejiang Police Officer School is very professional in this era. The courses studied are divided into legal, police, and military, and include studying the 3 principles of the people, general theory of law, constitution, administrative law, criminal law, international law, logic and applied psychology, natural science, forensic medicine, fingerprint, detective investigation, and more. In addition, there are even military terrain recognition, station troops, and marching vigilance. Spinning, gymnastics, boxing, and more are all covered. Although it has only been 2 years, these students can already be considered as highly skilled talents. No wonder Xing Hanliang said that various departments are competing for these students. Section 2 Useless Systems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Where will we be assigned in the future? If you ask me, the General Affairs Department of the Ministry of the Interior is the best place to go, and the Civil Affairs Department is also quite good. Someone longed for it. Xing Hanliang let out a sigh of disgust and said, just daydream about where the General Affairs Department is. Those who go there are all luxurious and noble, and at least they are also relatives of the imperial family. Even the watchdog has a foundation. Zuo Chong smiled, no matter which era, general affairs was the most lucrative job, and his family had some influence in his memories. It was not impossible for him to join the General Affairs Department. Ban Jun, on the other hand, looked worried and his future was uncertain. He was originally a retired officer from the Central Army Officer School, but was later selected to be sent to the Police Officer School and assigned to the Accelerated Cadet Team. I thought becoming a police officer would be less dangerous and could take care of my family, but when it comes to distribution, I encounter conflicts from the upper echelons, which is really a disadvantage. Thinking of this, Ban Jun sighed and said, the regular students in your first and second teams are finally legitimate students. In the future, at least they will hold the rank of police chief. The ones in our crash course are the stepmothers. Upon hearing this, Xing Hanliang became unhappy and said, old class, you have a monthly subsidy of 10 yuan for your crash course. I don't have any money, Mom Sheepy. Everyone laughed heartily, because the students of the Quick Success Science program have families and families. Without this 10 yuan subsidy, many families would probably go hungry. The source of regular students is young intellectuals, and there are hardly any poor people. According to theory, 10 yuan is not a big deal, but Xing Hanliang has always been extravagant and the money given by his family is naturally not enough. Alas, there is no dispatch or salary now. A few days ago, my family wrote to me that my father is feeling unwell and my child is going to school again. If I had known this, it would have been better to stay in the military and hang out. Ban Jun expressed his sorrow in his heart. The young man was thinking about the future of the officialdom, but he was more realistic. It didn't matter where he went, as long as his salary could support an old family, he would sign up. As he was speaking, the district captain roared at the door, "What are you doing? Hurry up and tidy up. We'll have a big shot from Nanjing to teach you later." Upon hearing this, everyone was overjoyed and waited for several months to finally see Xinjiang. Even Xing Hanliang, who was generous, quickly picked up his armed belt and hurriedly organized it. Taking advantage of the panic among the crowd, Zuo Chong secretly put a stack of money into the pocket of Ban Jun. This was pocket money given to him by his family. He didn't like playing, so he saved the money. I don't have much expenses on a regular basis, so I'll keep this money with me as well. Please help me first. The old man's illness won't be delayed, said Zuo Chong in a low voice. Ban Jun looked down at his pocket and found that there was about $100. He had a heart to refuse, but when he thought about the elderly and children at home, he couldn't express his refusal. Zuo Chong knew that Ban Jun couldn't save face and said, "Brother Ban, just keep it. If you have a dispatch, you can pay me back slowly once you receive your salary." Ban Jun then took his hand out of his pocket and looked up seriously, saying, "Zuo Chong, I won't thank you for your great kindness. I have kept this in mind." Zuo Chong patted him on the shoulder, and the two quickly caught up with the crowd and walked towards the playground. When they arrived at the edge of the playground, Zuo Chong and the others found a black sedan parked here. The school principals and officials were gathered around a person who was talking and laughing. Although he was not tall, he appeared to have an extraordinary demeanor while walking and talking. He looked like a big shot. If it weren't for strict discipline, the students would have cheered for a long time. They all know that riding in a sedan is a top priority, and knowledgeable people say that this is a Buick brand sedan from the United States, which is expensive. Zuo Chong was not as excited as the others, his eyes fixed on the big shot tightly, and a huge wave stirred up in his heart. How could it be this person who couldn't be hit with 8 sticks? Zuo Chong once read this person's encyclopedia, and the appearance of the spy king in the photo slowly merged with the person in front of him. This person was famous in later generations, but of course, he was mostly cursed. At the peak of his career, he ended up in the most dramatic way. Ding dong, randomly sign in to get a mobile phone. Just as Zuo Chongjing was shocked by the identity of a prominent figure, a warning sound suddenly sounded in his mind, and a heavy object suddenly appeared in Zuo Chongjing's pocket. Zuo Chong was confused for a moment and then excited. I said, how could rebirth time travel be without a system? After fantasizing about the return of the War King and giving a command for a while, Zuo Chong immediately reflected, is there a network or 5G in this era? What is the use of this phone? The big shots here were chatting with Shi Qingji and others, while paying attention to the students who were holding their heads high. In April of this year, the chairman ordered him to establish the Fuxing Society's secret service and serve as the director, to gather intelligence, carry out secret operations such as assassinations and surveillance. But some people in the Fuxing Society used funds to manipulate him, so a few months ago, the Secret Service was merged into the Military Commission's Investigation and Statistics Bureau. He served as the director of the second department, but in reality, he was also the director of the Secret Service. The beginning of everything is difficult. Although the Secret Service has a well-established background in secret investigation and liaison teams, the members are mostly military personnel or members of the underworld. It is okay for them to carry out assassinations and sabotage, but if they want to carry out professional intelligence activities, it is a bit difficult for them. The Zhejiang Police Officer School founded by Zhu Jiehua and Shi Qingji has thus entered the view of influential figures. Taking advantage of the chairman's dissatisfaction with the situation in the southwest, the Secret Service officially intervened in the daily management of the Zhejiang Police Officer School. But Zhu Jiehua was a top-notch figure next to the chairman and could not easily offend him. The big shot then transferred Wang Gupan, a member of the Fuxing Society who was proficient in police work, to the position of principal, while he himself commanded remotely as a political envoy. With the teaching staff, equipment, and student resources of Zhejiang Police Academy, it is entirely possible to cultivate a group of professional spy talents. Of course, the graduating students of the second phase of the police academy in front of us are not prepared to let go of the big shots. These young people who are proficient in criminal investigation and action, are the best candidates for espionage. However, first of all, we must ensure that these people are loyal to the leader and the party and the country. Otherwise, even if they have talent, they cannot be used. After chatting with everyone, the big shot signaled to Shi Qingji to read out the order. Shi Qingji knew what the big shot did, and he really didn't want these promising young people to step into the circle of right and wrong. The Ministry of the Interior has issued an order to appoint Wang Gupan as the principal of Zhejiang Police Academy and Dai Chunfeng as the political envoy from today onwards. The order is over, said Shi Qingji with a dark face. Wang Gupan and Dai Chunfeng came out one by one to meet with the students, to avoid causing trouble for the students not knowing the principal and the special envoy. Yes, the big shot that Zuo Chong saw was Dai Chunfeng, the famous director of the Military Statistics Bureau. That's the clumsy marquis, the Director Dai who met with the respected Director Dai. The students were panicked. Why did they suddenly change the principal and have a special envoy? However, good discipline made them afraid to make a noise. Dai Chunfeng nodded in satisfaction, valuing the students in front of him even more. They were professional talents, and if it were for the Secret Service, those people would probably have been in a mess long ago. After reading the order, Shi Qingji walked aside with a dark face and gave up his position to Dai Chunfeng, ready to hear what the famous figure in front of the chairman would say. Dai Chunfeng coughed lightly and spoke in a Zhejiang accent. Before President Xian passed away, he said that if I want to establish a new country in my lifetime, I must implement the 3 principles of the people and the 5 rights constitution. Unfortunately, I am tired of illness and am about to die. After years of running for the country, I have not achieved great things. I hope everyone can work hard to achieve my goals. I will die with peace of mind. The students are all young people with knowledge and ideals. The purpose of applying to police academies is not only practical, but also full of passion for serving the country. When Dai Chunfeng mentioned the president's will, and then thought about that era of change and passion, the students were all passionate. Dai Chunfeng paused for a moment and asked the students, have we fulfilled the wish of the former president? Before I came here, I had traveled all over the country and saw the corruption of military discipline, the pain of people's lives, and the rampant activities of traitors. The country is in dire straits, and the most important thing to achieve the grand wish of the former president is talent. You are the future hope of the party and the country. I hope you are loyal, brave, and dedicated to the country." The students blushed with excitement and shouted loudly, "Loyalty, courage, and dedication to the country." "Okay. You must uphold the leader's will and understand his hard work. Next, Principal Wang will have a conversation with the individual and wait in the dormitory," Dai Chunfeng said and walked towards the sedan before leaving. The new principal Wang Gupan announced the dissolution, and the UU reading www.uukangshu.net students were still extremely excited. They started discussing in groups of 3 to 5 and walked towards the dormitory. Ban Jun is an old fogey in the army. Naturally, he will not be confused by Dai Chunfeng's words. He also said this to his subordinates in the past year. As a result, he is still alive, but those who heard this had already died. He was afraid that the two little brothers wouldn't take it easy, especially Zuo Chong, who was honest, and was the easiest to be deceived. So he quickly pulled the two of them to his side and whispered a warning. "Don't listen to that special envoy's nonsense. The world is vast, the earth is vast, and life is the greatest. You and my brothers, just have a safe place to go." Xing Hanliang looked around and said, "Don't worry, buddy. That damn special envoy is a fool to be a young master. Isn't a big shot someone else who died? He made contributions." Oh. Zuo Chong didn't expect this guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes to see so clearly. Seeing Ban Jun looking at him, Zuo Chong waved his hand and said, "Old Ban, I just want to mess around. But your brother seems to know what that person does." Just as Dai Chunfeng was speaking, Zuo Chong saw that Ban Jun seemed to have something on his mind. He lowered his head, like a scumbag afraid of being called by the teacher. Ban Jun pondered for a moment, but he was sincere and truthful, saying, "I'm afraid this person is a spy. When I was in the military a few years ago, I heard that there was a group of people around the chairman. The royal guards know that they do all dirty work and have no good ending." Zuo Chong didn't expect Ban Jun to see so clearly, even Dai Chunfeng's future was clear. People cannot judge by appearance. But he didn't say anything, just nodded. "Originally, I'm afraid I can't do this," Xing Hanliang muttered to himself, but seemed to have thought of something and said with a smile on his face. "Do you think they need a handsome man trick?" Section 3 Investigation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Laughing and making a fuss, he returned to the dormitory and lay on the bed, pondering everything about today. It seemed that Dai Chunfeng was preparing to develop intelligence personnel at the police academy, otherwise he wouldn't have come to work as a political envoy. Intelligence personnel, this profession is considered cool in later generations. For example, in 007, I met someone who loved each other and didn't follow orders for love, but I was a good spy. For example, in some anti-Japanese dramas, I used to comb my hair, drink red wine, and flirt with Japanese women, but I was loyal to my country. Forget it, these are just laypeople's YY. The real intelligence work is very cruel, and just the torture methods in *** cannot be borne by Zuo Chong when he asks himself. As for experience, Zuo Chong doesn't know if TV dramas and movies count, but he also has some insights into the principles of Jade Buddha and Stipunk, as well as the Cadillac formula. I am also confused about my future path. I will become a police officer safely and then find a way to contact the organization. This is a very safe path, but he wants to do more for the country and the nation. When he thinks about the system, will there be a way out? Zuo Chong quietly took out his phone, which was an unlicensed smartphone. He tried to log into the web page, but the results showed 404. Unfortunately, it would be great if I could search for information, otherwise I could work as a strategic commentator or similar expert. Other functions such as cameras, notepads, calculators, etc. can be used, but Zuo Chong thinks that becoming an accountant in the future is also a way out. Zuo Chong studied for a while without any gain, and could only disappointedly put the phone in his pocket. Even if it was useless, it could not be discovered. The precise electronic components inside the phone were discovered and he could not explain them at all. At this time, Dai Chunfeng and Wang Gupan retrieved all the files of the second batch of students, carefully screened them one by one, and placed them in one place when they found suitable ones. When he saw one of the files, Dai Chunfeng knocked on the table and said, "Born in the 3rd year of the Republic of China, my family is a wealthy family in Ningbo, and my mother is from Jiangshan County. She is a standard hometown child." Wang Gupan looked around and agreed. From the file, after graduating from the senior high school, he applied for the police officer school. He is innocent. His father is also a member of the old league, so he should not be a dissident. Call him over, the chairman is extremely dissatisfied with the recent intelligence work, and we still need to put more effort into it. Dai Chunfeng decided to personally review Zuo Chong in order to rest assured. Yes. Wait, I'll send someone over. At this moment, Zuo Chong was arguing with everyone about his future ideals. Xing Hanliang said that his ideal was to become the president of the Women's Police Academy, which caused everyone to laugh. Suddenly, someone outside shouted, "Student Zuo Chong, summoned by the principal." The people in the dormitory were amazed. Zuo Chong only achieved average grades in professional courses and action skills, and was actually the first to be called to talk. Zuo Chong was not in a hurry. He was familiar with the interview and walked out with his usual expression. After escorting him to the door, Ban Jun whispered to him, "Be clever. Whatever the commander says, don't say anything good about the underground party." Zuo Chong said a soft thank you, and when he walked out, he found a second lieutenant officer in front of him, as if he were a follower of Dai Chunfeng. "Sir, are you with the special envoy?" Zuo Chong cautiously probed, unsure of what Dai Chunfeng was looking for, feeling a bit nervous. The officer was quite eloquent and said, "Yes, little brother, don't be afraid. The special envoy just wants to meet the outstanding children in his hometown. Let's go." With a smile, he led the way. Zuo Chong walked and inquired, "Sir, you and the special envoy came from Jinling to Hangzhou. It's really hard work. I don't know your surname." The officer was very polite and said, "My surname is Chen Gongshu. We will see each other frequently in the future." Zuo Chong's heart was taken aback. Chen Gongshu, this name sounds a bit familiar. It seems like he has seen it in a TV drama. This person will be the future webmaster of Shanghai Station, and he was eventually caught and surrendered to the Japanese puppet regime. But in the blink of an eye, Zuo Chong didn't care anymore. Even if Chen Gongshu was a future spy, he was now just a little errand runner around Dai Chunfeng. The two of them chatted and laughed as they arrived at the entrance of the executive office. Chen Gongshu asked Zuo Chong to wait outside the door, pushed the door open, and walked in, but then there was no movement. Zuo Chong thought he would be summoned soon, but after waiting for a long time without any movement, he felt his hands and feet sore from moving around, but then thought of Dai Chunfeng inside the door. On the surface, this person values discipline and appearance the most. Zuo Chong had to endure and maintain a standard standing posture. He was confident that someone was observing him. After Dai Chunfeng finished processing a pile of files inside the door, he looked at it and asked Chen Gongshu, "How are you doing?" Chen Gongshu stood at attention and reported, "The reporting office is very good. Although this is not a long time, it can still explain many problems." Dai Chunfeng was satisfied and said, "Well, let him come in." When Chen Gongshu came out, Zuo Chong felt that his legs and waist no longer belonged to him, but when he heard Dai Chunfeng let him in, he immediately put on an excited look on his face. "Report, student Zuo Chong has been ordered to come." After entering, Zuo Chong gave a sharp military salute and reported loudly. Dai Chunfeng was very satisfied with Zuo Chong's style and asked in a strong Zhejiang accent, "I know why I called you here. Report to the special envoy, I don't know, but the students know everything without hesitation. Zuo Chong looked straight forward and thought to himself, if you like it, then let's continue acting. Dai Chunfeng nodded without concealing anything and asked directly, how much do you know about intelligence work? Is this to test oneself? Zuo Chong pretended to be foolish, but just thinking about it made him give up. Playing tricks in front of Dai Chunfeng is easy to kill people. Besides, just expressing opinions doesn't need to be too concerned. After pondering for a while, Zuo Chong honestly said, I think intelligence work is the work of people, because no matter what kind of technology or means, ultimately it is a struggle between people. Compared to Europe, America, and Japan, our intelligence technology is backward, don't you think? Dai Chunfeng rubbed his chin without expressing his opinion. I think our ancestors' account of Wujian is very advanced and still applicable today. New science and technology still need to serve our thinking. As long as our thinking does not decline, there will always be more solutions than difficulties. Zuo Chong can only talk about his thoughts in a vague manner, after all, he is just an ordinary police academy student. If he really wants to reveal information about future generations, Dai Chunfeng will definitely doubt it. Dai Chunfeng was already very satisfied when he heard this. Many people only focus on technology, but forget the tremendous power of their thinking. He is becoming more and more satisfied with this little fellow villager. This talent must be recruited for my own use. Dai Chunfeng is no longer going around the bush and wants to recruit Zuo Chong directly. Very good, my name is Dai Chunfeng. I am the director of the Investigation and Statistics Bureau of the Military Commission, also known as the Secret Service Department. The department is specialized in intelligence work and directly accepts the chairman's orders. Do you want to come to the Secret Service Department? After listening, Zuo Chong grew his mouth and looked as if he had never seen the world before. He knew that Dai Chunfeng seemed to be asking, but in fact, he had already made a decision. Zuo Chong stood at attention and said, report to the special envoy, the students are willing. Dai Chunfeng finally smiled and said, okay, I heard your family is from Ningbo, your mother is from Jiangshan, and you, the chairman, and I are all fellow villagers. Zuo Chong was flattered and said, it's a great blessing that the students can be from the same hometown as the chairman and the special envoy. After trying to win over the relationship, Dai Chunfeng felt that it was necessary to delve deeper into Zuo Chong's network of relationships, as archives are archives and oral materials also need to be verified. What other people are there at home? What do the family think about applying for a police academy far from their hometown? Report to the special envoy that my ancestors were from the Qing dynasty. My father had studied abroad in the East and followed the former president's revolution. Later, due to engagement, he returned to China and had to give up halfway. My maternal ancestors were wealthy families and my mother was a student at a Catholic girls' school. My uncles and aunts often work in the government or do business. Apart from me, there are also 2 siblings in our family who are currently studying in schools. They don't listen to anything outside the window and only focus on reading books of sages. This is the family motto of the left family. Zuo Chong knew that Dai Chunfeng was investigating the situation, but there were no issues with his own family, so he did not conceal anything about the situation with Pan Tuo as a monk. Very good, your left family's family motto is very good. When studying, focus is the way to study. Young people should not think they can interfere in national affairs just by listening to a few slogans. Dai Chunfeng criticized the underground party members insinuatively, and then asked, how should we carry out intelligence work on the underground party and the Japanese? Tell me your opinion, even if it's a discussion between elders and juniors. Zuo Chong cautiously said, the students don't understand the underground party. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net is strictly prohibited from discussing these things at home. He said that there must be a nation before a country. Only by seeking innovation and change can Japanese people offset the technological and strength gap between China and Japan, as the students just said. Tell me more specifically. Dai Chunfeng was non-committal to Zuo Chong's statement. After rethinking, let's not talk about the rumored methods of special forces in the past. Instead, it is worth learning from the legendary Japanese way of training special agents. The future war between the party and the Japanese is inevitable, and intelligence work should take the lead. Although we are of the same race as the Japanese, the differences in language and customs make intelligence work against Japan very difficult. The Japanese have occupied many of our cities and are able to train intelligence personnel in terms of language, customs, and habits, enabling them to distinguish between real and fake, giving them an advantage over us. In the student's view, only by allowing our intelligence personnel to be in Japanese society, familiar with Japan's living environment and language customs, can we achieve twice the result with half the effort. Dai Chunfeng didn't understand. Zuo Chong agreed with what he said about the ultimate war between China and Japan, but it was a bit fanciful to have special agent training placed on Japanese soil. However, being so young and having so many ideas about intelligence work is considered good. While appreciating it, Dai Chunfeng was slightly disappointed. Today's conversation can be concluded, and he is ready to have Chen Gongshu escort Zuo Chong back. At this moment, Zuo Chong said again, we can build a Japanese town in China. From the Qing dynasty to the present, there are many students studying in Japan who have lived, studied, and worked in Japan for many years and are very familiar with Japan. If we could organize a group of people to live in counterfeit Japanese villages and towns, while our special agents mix in various identities and professions. Over the years, even Japanese people may not be able to distinguish between truth and falsehood. Section 4 Special Training Class. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Dai Chunfeng stood up directly after listening. Is this idea complicated? Of course not complicated. Is it difficult to implement? Just building a village, how much money can it cost? There are more instructors who are familiar with Japan's national conditions. After the Kanto earthquake, many Chinese people who made a living in Japan returned to the Republic of China with advanced technology and funds to avoid persecution and build their country. However, the Republic of China has its own rules and regulations. Some of these people have prosperous businesses, while others have an unsustainable life after bankruptcy. It is not difficult to absorb these people to help train intelligence personnel. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. Originally, he wanted to select a few joint action talents, but unexpectedly, there were unexpected gains. As the saying goes, one army is easy to obtain, and one general is difficult to obtain. Left emphasis suddenly became important in Dai Chunfeng's heart. Chen Gongshu, who was standing beside him, was also greatly shocked. He didn't expect that this unattractive elementary school teacher was really not simple. He boasted of being resourceful in his daily life, but he really couldn't come up with such wild and imaginative ideas. After all, it was an old spy. Dai Chunfeng quickly snapped out of surprise and said, Zuo Chong, you are already 18 years old this year. Has your family taken a character for you? Because I have never graduated, let alone established a career, I did not choose characters. Zuo Chong knew that Dai Chunfeng had a good habit of selecting characters for people, which was also one of the means to win them over. Sure enough, Dai Chunfeng laughed at the words and said, now it's time for you to choose a character. I love my hometown's talented people the most. Today, I will take over the task and choose a character for you. How about that? Zuo Chong bowed deeply and said, thank you very much, Special Envoy. After pondering for a while, Dai Chunfeng said, let's call it Shenzhong. As the ancient said, a gentleman respects the beginning and is cautious towards the end, always consistent. I hope you will be cautious in your words and actions, and guard against arrogance and impatience in the future. Zuo Chong knew that this was not only Dai Chunfeng's kindness, but also full of beating. He was always a gentleman, but if he wasn't consistent, he would be a non-gentleman and a villain, and the outcome of villains is usually not good. Dai Chunfeng walked up to Zuo Chong and suddenly asked, "What do you think of the underground party?" After speaking, his eyes were fixed on Zuo Chong, trying to find something from it. Zuo Chong remained unusually calm and said sternly, "My father has repeatedly warned students at home to be loyal to their leaders and the party and the country." After shouting the slogan, Zuo Chong explained with embarrassment, "I only heard about the underground party. The students don't know exactly who they are. It is said to be very difficult, but the students have been weak since childhood and may not be able to endure hardship." "Ha ha ha, I can't tell you're weak, but I can tell you're spoiled." Dai Chunfeng patted Zuo Chong's shoulder with satisfaction and said, "Don't be so outspoken in the future. You and I are fellow villagers, and we all work for the chairman. Just call me a teacher in the future." Dai Chunfeng didn't think there would be days of wealthy young masters indulging in extravagance and drinking. However, he insisted on running to become an underground party member, but unfortunately he didn't know much about them. There were not only many but also many of them. "Okay, teacher." Zuo Chong immediately changed his mind and passed the test, feeling a little relaxed. Gathering together a talented person, Dai Chunfeng felt very happy. He also saw Chen Gongshu looking at Zuo Chong with jealousy on the side, secretly smiling, saying that a general is better than a general. In the future, Chen Gongshu will definitely work hard. Dai Chunfeng asked again, "Shenzhong, what you just said is very good. Where do you think it would be better to establish this training base? If the leader asks for your opinion, you can't help but say it, but you can't make a decision for the leader, especially for someone like Dai Chunfeng who has a strong desire for control." Even though he knows that southwest China is the best place, Zuo Chong didn't directly say it. But instead, taking retreat as the way forward. "Firstly, we cannot focus on the prosperous coastal areas of our country, because that is the battlefield during a major war. Secondly, we must avoid being easily detected by aerial reconnaissance in forested mountainous areas. Thirdly, it is necessary to facilitate transfer and material distribution in railway or waterway transportation areas. Fourthly, in areas with a large population and abundant resources, fundraising should be more abundant. Dai Chunfeng agreed, but Zuo Chong only proposed objective conditions for himself to choose, which was quite sensible. After thinking for a while, he felt that only Chuandi was a suitable place. It's a pity that the situation there is unstable now. Unfortunately, Dai Chunfeng sighed with disappointment. However, it's possible to first build near Jinling or Hangzhou, and once the dissidents are eliminated, it's not too late to relocate. With this in mind, Dai Chunfeng said to Chen Gongshu, "Gongshu, this matter is up to you. You need to communicate more with Shenzhong in this regard. He is someone who has a way. Hurry up and I will report to the chairman." Chen Gongshu immediately said, "Don't worry, take your seat. I will consult with Brother Zuo." He was just jealous for a moment, but he didn't deliberately target someone with ability. Zuo Chong was naturally carried by everyone in a flower sedan chair and respectfully said, "Don't worry, teacher. I will assist Brother Gongshu well and not delay you from reporting to the leader." Dai Chunfeng looked at the two with satisfaction. The elderly in the Secret Service now have their own plans and cannot be entrusted with heavy responsibilities. These young people are his soldiers, just like Wampoa is to the chairman. "Shenzhong, you will be a member of the Secret Service from now on, but you have a special task to complete before officially joining." Zuo Chong was speechless, so there was a task ahead. But he didn't understand anything, so he spoke truthfully and asked, "Teacher, I haven't received professional intelligence training, have I?" Dai Chunfeng laughed and said, "Shenzhong, you just want to conduct intelligence work, and I don't allow it either. The Secret Service will open several training courses at your police academy, and you will teach these students action skills." Zuo Chong's face turned red. Whether it was fighting or shooting, he was considered average. This was not a good way to mislead children, but Dai Chunfeng definitely knew his academic performance, so he probably had other plans for this arrangement. Dai Chunfeng explained, the Secret Service has strict military regulations and rewards no effort. You can teach knowledge while studying intelligence work in school, which is the best of both worlds. Oh, Zuo Chong understands now. Dai Chunfeng is going to gild him at the police academy. After the training class ends, it's probably time to transfer him to the Secret Service. For this arrangement, Zuo Chong had to thank Dai Chunfeng. Thank you very much, teacher, for bothering you. The drumming did not require a heavy hammer. Seeing that Zuo Chong understood his own meaning, Dai Chunfeng spoke more about this matter and turned to introduce several training classes that were about to start. This time, there are several special training classes offered in the police academy, including A, B, C, radio, translation, and car driving. You need to closely monitor their ideological trends and never underestimate them. Dai Chunfeng was extremely serious about this. Zuo Chong stood at attention and said, yes, students understand. Well, as long as you know the importance, it's good. Among them, the Class A training course is aimed at cultivating professional intelligence talents and senior agents in our Special Affairs Office. Personnel are selected from your trainees, mid-level military and police officers from various regions, and universities. The Type B training class is designed to train action personnel and will be recruited from graduates of junior and senior high schools, limited to males only. The Type C training class is designed to train female special agents for regular cover tasks, mainly in professional skills such as cooking, sewing, and haircutting. Speaking of this, Dai Chunfeng cautioned, if you are young, there are some things that you cannot grasp. Don't ignore the bright future. The discipline of my Secret Service is strict. If anything ugly happens, even if you are my student, you will be punished severely. Zuo Chong is speechless. Is Dai Chunfeng the kind of person you are? We can only guarantee, please rest assured, teacher. I understand carefully that besides training work, I will not spend too much time with students from Class C. It doesn't matter if young people have mistakes, but you should know what your goal is. Apart from this goal, anything can be sacrificed. Dai Chunfeng waved his arm and began brainwashing Zuo Chong. Ignoring Dai Chunfeng's toxic chicken soup, Zuo Chong thought about what he heard. Apart from professional training courses such as driving and radio, A, B, and C are the cornerstone of the strength of the Secret Service. Some of the people here will sacrifice their heads and shed blood to fight against the Japanese invaders in the future, while others will assist the tyrant in his tyranny. Some even acknowledge the thief as their father, and when they become a part of history, this feeling makes Zuo Chong feel like a dream. Even if you become an instructor, don't forget to study. I asked Gong Shu to bring you some books. Besides, I have hired an intelligence master for the special training class, so you should learn from him well. Dai Chunfeng didn't mention the person's name, and Zuo Chong didn't mind. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. Dai Chunfeng chatted with Zuo Chong again for a while, and with some fatigue, he raised his hand to look at his watch. Zuo Chong voluntarily withdrew. Chen Gongshu escorted him back and also gave him a book. It was a bit strange that the two of them had become colleagues one after another. On the way, Chen Gongshu smiled and said, Brother Zuo, I have learned from Chu Zuo. My future prospects are limitless. I hope you can provide more support in the future. Zuo Chong realized that none of these spies were sincere. He thought he didn't know how serious it was to become a teacher, and now he's just verbally calling out to the teacher. In fact, students in police academies can all call teacher Dai Chunfeng, just like Huangpu calls principal, it's just a formality. But on the surface, brothers still have to do it. Zuo Chong looked flattered and said, if that's the case, brother Gongshu is the celebrity in front of me. I'm just a bit quick-witted. Compared to work, your brother is the teacher. The two had a commercial exchange, and Chen Gongshu took out several self-printed internal books from his carry-on luggage. He flipped through them left and right, all explaining how to carry out assassinations, how to set up intelligence teams, screen personnel, and establish safe houses and other related intelligence knowledge. These books are all carefully collected from Japanese special high school courses, the U.S. Navy Intelligence Agency, and the Soviet Union's Chika data. You must cherish them carefully, Chen Gongshu said with great admiration. Zuo Chong suddenly realized that no wonder the Military Statistics Bureau often made some low-level mistakes in history, which may be caused by these mixed textbooks. But information science knowledge is confidential in any country, and it is not easy for Dai Chunfeng to obtain so much. So Zuo Chongxue still knows how to learn. He decided not only to learn, but also to combine his own memory and not to read dead books. After all, intelligence work is not an exam, making mistakes will result in death. Section 5 Departing and Coming. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Zuo Chong returned to the dormitory, a circle of people immediately gathered around him to inquire about the news. Is it because your family has connections that your child was the first to receive an interview? What did the new principal and that special envoy say to you? Xing Hanliang was full of curiosity in his heart. There's nothing like asking a few questions. Don't worry, there will be news soon. Zuo Zhong finished speaking and put the book Chen Gongshu gave him in the cabinet. Seeing that Zuo Zhong was unwilling to speak, everyone didn't force it. Some even felt secretly pleased. Since even Zuo Zhong could be called to talk, they were even better than Zuo Zhong. Isn't that a great opportunity? Returning to the office, Chen Gongshu respectfully stood in front of Dai Chunfeng and said, "Report to the office." Zuo Chong didn't say much after returning. "I see, you go down now. Remember to take the time and handle that matter with caution." Dai Chunfeng didn't look up, but Zuo Zhong was a smart person. How could he promote it so much? In fact, as Zuo Chong said, soon the police academy began selecting the first batch of students for the Class A training program, especially those who ranked high in professional courses and action skills, and were almost completely eliminated. These selected people are also secretive, and anyone who asks is said to be an ordinary training class, which is related to their future prospects. Who dares to promote it everywhere? The most shocking thing is that Zuo Zhong, who was in the same period as them, was appointed as the action instructor of the training class. This is a huge joke, which shows that it's better not to participate in this special training class, which makes those who were not selected feel relieved. Some people left, while others stayed. Among them, Ban Jun went to the anti-smuggling department under the General Taxation Department, while Xing Hanliang went to the Central Police Agency of the Police Department of the Ministry of the Interior. Zuo Chong exclaimed that real people don't show up. The anti-smuggling police under the anti-smuggling department were just established last year to manage all maritime and land anti-smuggling activities within the Republic of China. There is no risk, and the oil and water are also high, making it a good place to go. And the police department is also a good place for students to break their heads and go in. It can be considered a personnel management agency. Some students laughed and said that in the future, their credit and promotion will depend on Xing Hanliang. Zuo Chong naturally wouldn't envy the two friends having a good place to go. The Secret Service will become more and more well-known over time. It is absurd for an intelligence agency to be so famous, but one can also see the power within it. Before they parted ways, the three of them bid farewell at a small tavern outside the police academy. After 2 years of schoolmate friendship, now that they are separated, they all feel a bit down. Upon seeing this, Ban Jun, as the eldest brother, raised his glass and said, "Our brothers have a place to go now, which is a good thing. Besides, we are not far away. We can gather again when the time comes. Come, cheers." After listening, Zuo Zhong and Xing Hanliang felt a little better. The three of them raised their glasses and drank in one gulp. Everyone shared their expectations for the future, and the atmosphere improved a lot. After getting drunk, Xing Hanliang asked Ban Jun, "Old Ban, where do you come from with such a strong connection? You can actually go to the anti-smuggling department. Even if I have a distant uncle who is the director of the Ministry of the Interior, I can't go to such a good place. Ban Jun chuckled and patted the table, saying, "Where do I come from? My senior officer knows the situation at home and helped me say a few words." Oh, Zuo Chong and Xing Hanliang suddenly realized that the military always values human relationships and friendship more than other places. The old squad comes from the military, and it's normal to have a few well-performing senior officers. The three of them drank until they reached the treetops on the moon and stumbled back to the dormitory. The next day, Zuo Chong woke up to find that old Ban and Xing Hanliang had already left. It seems that what old Ban said was free and easy, but in fact, there was also reluctance in his heart. Zuo Chong lay in bed bored and looked up at the roof. It's not easy to be an action instructor, not to mention those classmates who know the root and bottom, those intermediate military and police cadres, and the proud sons of college, which one is a fuel-efficient lamp. The best way to suppress them is to show your hand and suppress them, but Zuo Chong knows that showing your hand is equivalent to leaking buttocks. It's annoying. As for the check.in system, there hasn't been any movement these days, so I'm afraid I can't rely on it. It seems that we can only start from the perspective of novelty, and all of our thoughts. In the following days, Zuo Chong held books in his hands all day long, gesturing and gesturing. Others didn't know what he was doing when they saw him, but they thought he was extremely happy. In addition, Zuo Chong also accompanied Chen Gongshu in perfecting the plan to imitate a Japanese town, and the two of them even gave the plan an unrelated name, the Canned Food Project. Zuo Chong proposed to first establish an experimental camp in the mountainous areas of Anhui province, prioritizing the training of intelligence personnel targeting Japan. This is an urgent task and will take effect quickly. The two people agreed on the location, and Anhui province met the conditions previously proposed by Zuo Chong. At the same time, it is not far from Jinling, which facilitates the supervision of the plan by the Secret Service. However, in terms of the selection of instructors, Zuo Chong and Chen Gongshu have different opinions. Zuo Chong believes that families of businessmen or small intellectuals should be selected, while Chen Gongshu believes that families of military and political officials from the Guodang should be selected. After several discussions, Chen Gongshu still insisted, be cautious in the end. The top priority in intelligence work is loyalty, and the selection of instructors is of great importance. Business people forget their interests and small intellectuals have narrow perspectives, which is not the best choice. Zuo Chong shook his head and said, Brother Gongshu, do you think so? Will the Japanese also think so? Among the officials and children studying in Japan, if there are also Japanese intelligence personnel, if they were to participate, wouldn't they just tell the Japanese directly about the plan? Chen Gongshu had the intention to refute that the relatives of party and state officials could not be Japanese spies. However, upon careful consideration, if he were a Japanese intelligence agent, such people were indeed worth attracting. Zuo Chong finally said, and in the canned food plan, those instructors will live on the base for several years as if they were on a daily basis. Do you think the relatives of those party and government officials will be willing to? He was too clear about the virtues of those people, and Chen Gongshu decided to listen to Zuo Chong's advice. If the instructors had finished running by then, the Secret Service would have really become a joke. The plan was completed through twists and turns, and Zuo Chong discovered that Chen Gongshu was indeed a well-known figure in history. He had great ideas and strong abilities in organizational structure, personnel allocation, and other work. As time passed, several trainees from the special training class arrived, some of whom were recruited or deceived, but the sources were very complex. Dai Chunfeng specially attended the opening ceremony of the class, and only then did the students below know the nature of their future work. Dai Chunfeng also said that promotion is fast and the salary is sufficient. They wished they could immediately devote themselves to intelligence work. After the ceremony, Dai Chunfeng specifically called for Zuo Chong to remind him, be careful, I have already looked at the canned food plan. There is an unstable point in it. The families of those instructors need to be relocated together, which can both stabilize people's hearts and control them. Zuo Chong respectfully said, "The student was negligent, but it was you who saw far, teacher." I thought to myself that the loophole I deliberately left was indeed discovered. Otherwise, how could I demonstrate the foresight of reaching the peak? Chen Gongshu, who was standing beside me, finally convinced him. After the special training class, it will be managed by your principal Wang Gupan. After the special training class ends, you will enter the headquarters and I will personally award you a title. You must work hard. Dai Chunfeng said and then took Chen Gongshu back to Jinling. Zuo Chong finally relaxed completely. In front of this old fox, he couldn't relax for a moment. However, after the official start of the special training class, Zuo Chong felt a lot of pressure again, especially after the same period of students leaked his background information. The students chatted and slept in his class. Other instructors were also too lazy to care about this matter. Only Principal Wang Gupan knew that Dai Chunfeng valued left-wing students and had stared at them several times in class, which ensured the basic teaching order. Zuo Chong saw it in his eyes but didn't panic. Now that he has just started the special training, the teaching content is all about knowledge from books, and it's not yet time for him to show off his skills. Moreover, the so-called action techniques in the textbooks of the special training class are a bit funny, at least unrealistic. Whether students love to learn or not will not affect their true actions in the future. As for the intelligence expert mentioned by Dai Chunfeng, Zuo Chong also saw him and was indeed a powerful figure. When this person arrived, he came silently. After a brief understanding of the teaching progress, it was decided that he would be the main lecturer on special agent theory, secret carrying, chemical communication, poison, anesthesia, and other courses. Zuo Chong listened to his class, and this person is indeed very skilled in teaching. He is good at combining boring theoretical lectures with vivid examples, so that the trainees can integrate them. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net for example, he mainly talks about the theory of spies, starting from the story of 3 visits to the thatched cottage in Romance of the Three Kingdoms. He explains why Zhuge Liang waited until Liu Bei's 3rd visit to see him, explaining the relationship between the various stages of intelligence collection, analysis, and application. A book called Romance of the Three Kingdoms was spoken by him and became a vivid textbook of spy theory. Students unconsciously learned the basic theories of spies. Zuo Chong became more and more aware of the profoundness of the intelligence profession as he studied. He took some difficult questions and tried to ask that person, who was also willing to help and always provided perfect answers. I really can't underestimate the world. Zuo Chong believes that this person has a meticulous mind and a broad perspective. Even in modern society, they will definitely become a business hero. Later, Zuo Chong found out that this person's name was Yu Xingla, who was the district chief of the East China district of the Secret Service. Yu Xingla often praised Zuo Chong's whimsical ideas, and their relationship was good. Yu Xingla then talked to Zuo Chong about his background, which surprised him. Yu Xingla went to France to study chemistry and machinery in his early years. After returning to China, he served as a military academy instructor. In 1927, he was sent by underground parties to Sun Yat-sen University to study intelligence and secret defense work, and returned to China to serve as the secretary of the Iron Army Corps. Zuo Chong felt that if he had a firm belief and continued his journey, he would definitely be a person who could go to school and perhaps even receive evaluations from a certain family. But in the special period of a few years ago, Yu Xingla did a very shameful thing. He secretly took the gold of his troops and became a deserter. Zuo Chong was a bit speechless. It was like picking up sesame seeds after losing a watermelon. However, between the lines of Yu Xingla's words, he expressed regret for this matter. Of course, this matter has nothing to do with Zuo Chong. With Yu Xingla as a professional spy and teacher, he has devoted all his energy to studying. Section 6 Teaching Action Techniques. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With the end of the theoretical foundation course, the special training class is preparing to start practical exercises in action technology. Police officers and military police officers are fine, but those students and trainees are different. They have not even seen guns before. Gue Yoguang, you are a famous sharpshooter. You will show your skills to your brothers later, the police academy students cheered. Among the crowd, Gue Yoguang is a bald man with the best performance in the police academy. He hypocritically and humbly said, "Oh my, where is it?" At this moment, Zuo Chong walked over with his teaching book sandwiched between his legs. Several soldiers carried several boxes behind him, and Zuo pressed to first list the names according to the roster, confirming that no one was missing. The practical operation class on action technology is starting. Who will give a demonstration first? Zuo Chong has been waiting for a long time today. Me. But before Zuo could put it back on, a bald man swaggered out of the crowd. Zuo Chong's smile solidified on his face, and then he recorded Gue Yoguang in his notebook. He decided to carry forward the tradition of the party and the country and send this guy to northeast China in the future. Wait a moment, let me talk about the weapons used today. Zuo Chong took out a pistol from the box and raised it high, asking the students, "Do you know each other?" All the students, including Gue Yoguang, shook their heads. Zuo Chong was holding a broomstick, but it was different from the existing broomsticks in China. Zuo Chong was very satisfied with their ignorance and introduced, the PPK pistol produced by the Walther Arsenal in Germany has a magazine capacity of 7 rounds, fires 7.65 mm caliber Browning pistol bullets, and an effective range of 50 meters. This gun is small and exquisite, easy to conceal, and it is extremely convenient to quickly pull the gun from the clothes and pants pocket. The most important thing is that the design structure is simple, and as long as it is maintained properly, there will be almost no mechanical failures. After using the specially designed barrel, PPK can still install a sound-absorbing device. I have applied to the seat several times, so you guys can use such cutting-edge weapons. Let's all try the feels. Zuo Chong spoke so well about PPK, and the students came forward one after another. After experiencing it, they found that it was indeed more exquisite than the common masturbation, and the feel was very suitable for shooting. As the students finished reading, they took out another pistol and asked, "Gue Yoguang, do you know this? Made in Germany." Of course Gue Yoguang knows it. Zilade, also known as the box cannon, is the most common handgun in China. It can also be made in large quantities and is issued by police academies and military police. The PPK is good, but it is too expensive, and the box gun firepower is indeed very strong. In addition, German companies have a Republic of China special version of the 20-round magazine, which can be used as a submachine gun. Therefore, Zuo Chong chose it as a supplement. "Come on, let everyone see your marksmanship," Zuo Chong said to Gue Yoguang. "Okay." Gue Yoguang picked up the magazine and skillfully checked it. He took out the magazine from the ammunition box and loaded it. Then, in a standard standing position, he held his waist with his left hand and his gun with his right hand. With a slight aim, he aimed and fired at the target nearly 50 meters away. Pa, 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 pa. Okay. Zuo Chong and the students applauded and praised Gue Yoguang's marksmanship. A target 50 meters away was riddled with numerous bullet holes, and Zilai's accuracy was poor. At the same time, the new gun was not calibrated, and Gue Yoguang calibrated it while shooting. Gue Yoguang put down his gun with a red face and said, "Left instructor, why don't you give a demonstration?" The students who were not satisfied with the lively atmosphere cheered, "Okay. The marksmanship is good, but it took you more than 10 seconds to aim. Will there be enemies on the battlefield who are so foolish?" Zuo Chong calmly finished speaking and asked, "Have you ever had practical combat experience? When it comes to pistol battles, what distance are they all at?" The students didn't know what Zuo Chong meant by saying this, so they all answered 10 meters, 15 meters, and 5 meters. After all, the effective distance is not equal to the practical distance. Zuo nodded and asked, when you arrive at the Secret Service, where do you think the majority of battles will break out in the future? Or, in other words, where will pistols be used? After thinking for a while, the military and police trainees were the first to say, in narrow spaces such as indoors and on the streets. So, students, in the future, we will fight against the enemy within a few inches and make a decisive decision within a few steps. The position of Gue Yoguang is very accurate, but unfortunately it is too slow and not practical. Without waiting for Gue Yoguang to refute, Zuo Chong picked up a PPK and announced, "Scene. Indoor search, Gue Yoguang, you cooperate." The left heavy posture is very strange, with a slight bow in the body, hands in front of the face, and elbows pressed against the ribs. Hold the gun with the right hand close to the body, and firmly grip the right hand with the left hand. This posture is a bit creepy, and the students burst into laughter. However, military and police officers with practical combat experience are thoughtful. Although they don't know the significance of Zuo Chong's actions, they always feel very pleasing and safe. Gue Yoguang frowned as he looked at Zuo Chong. In reality, if you don't have a gun and the other person has a gun, the first thing to do is to avoid it. But this is a drill, so he needs to get close to the left weight as quickly as possible and then grab the gun. However, Zuo Chong's gun-holding posture made him very uncomfortable. This posture made the weapon very close to Zuo Chong's body, and it was not as easy to grab the gun as holding it with a straight arm. After thinking for a moment, Gue Yoguang's heart turned sideways and quickly rushed towards Zuo Chong, attempting to win with speed. The students all closed their mouths and watched nervously as the two engaged in battle. Because the two were not far apart, Gue Yoguang quickly approached Zuo Chong with his speed, and Zuo Chong seemed to have no reaction or any counterattack action. Gue Yoguang smiled and reached out to the weapon in Zuo Chong's hand. He believed that as long as he touched the gun, Zuo Chong would lose. But Zuo Chong suddenly moved, seemingly scared and foolish. He even put down his pistol, as if completely giving up resistance. Puff, Gue Yoguang almost burst out laughing, "Is that all?" But soon he couldn't laugh anymore. Zuo Chong pressed the lowered pistol back to his abdomen, and he was further away from the weapon, unable to retrieve it at all. And while pressing the gun, the left heavy right elbow is raised and extended forward, facing his throat. Bang! Zuo Chong still showed mercy and slammed his elbow heavily into Gue Yoguang's arm instead of his throat, otherwise he might have died in this attack. Zuo Chong is actually very nervous. He knows that whether it's his marksmanship or practical experience, many students have completely exposed him. If you want to win, you have to surprise yourself. After thinking about it, Zuo Chong thought of CR shooting, a popular niche technique among the military and police. The key to CR technology lies in holding the gun in one's arms for maximum control, which can protect the gun held and make it difficult for attackers to grasp or seize the handgun of the gun holder. In addition, because the hands are closer to the head, it can also be considered as protecting the head. This is also why students with practical experience find it very pleasing to the eye, which stems from intuition on the battlefield. The students didn't see what was happening clearly, so in the blink of an eye, Gue Yoguang, who had just gained an advantage, was cleaned up by the instructor. Is Gue Yoguang just a pretext? It is said that both of them are police academy students, very likely. Zuo Chong secretly moved his arm, and Gue Yoguang's physical condition was very good. No wonder he had the best combat performance in the police academy. He felt like his elbow had hit a stone. How about it, have you seen it clearly? Zuo Chong asked the student. I'm not convinced. You have a gun, I don't. If you have the ability, let me hold a gun. The person shouting this was Gue Yoguang lying on the ground. He was just stunned by the sudden reversal of the situation and only now has he realized it. He is not convinced. He thinks that Zuo Chong's strange posture is not a big deal, just relying on having a gun. He glanced at him again and said, "Don't give up. Alright, give you another chance. Let's focus on actual combat and shoot at close range indoors, with a target distance of 5 meters. Okay." Guo Yoguang got up. He didn't believe that Zuo Chong's marksmanship could surpass him, and it wasn't his first time competing in the same field. Both of them used PPK this time, and the box cannon was too heavy. Standing in front of the target, Zuo Chong remained in that strange posture, still facing the target sideways. The students stared at him intently, knowing that the instructor seemed to have something. "Let's get started. This is the referee student." Pop 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 pop, pop 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 pop. Pop, pop, pop. Zuo Chong pressed the gun against his chest, fired without aiming, and used his body's pitch angle to control the point of impact. With a command, he quickly emptied the magazine. Everyone has grown their mouths, there is no need to time anymore. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. Guo Yoguang lost again, and Guo Yoguang himself was also stunned. Zuo Chong's firing rate is very fast, and the accuracy at high firing rates seems to be quite good. Guo Yoguang knows that life and death are in an instant. Whoever reacts quickly, who fires the first bullet, and who can fire the most bullets in the shortest time determines who lives and dies. Left instructor, I lost. Guo Yoguang just resented Zuo Chong, whose grades were worse than him, for being the instructor, but he was not a petty person. Since his skills were not as good as his, he quickly admitted his mistake. "Sorry for that, your standing shooting is much more accurate than mine. We are learning from each other," he said, slamming his shoulder with a heavy hammer. Zuo Chong knows that Guo Yoguang has the best performance among the police academy students. Since he has already admitted to it, Zuo Chong will not hold on to it. These students and classmates will all work in the secret service, and the current situation is too tense without any benefits. "Instructor, what was the mystery of your shooting posture just now? Can you teach us?" The atmosphere was much better, and the students took the opportunity to ask Zuo Chong. This is a way to save their lives in the future. Zuo Chong smiled and said, "Of course I have to teach it to you, otherwise I won't be able to pay you the salary, will I?" The students burst into laughter, and after they finished laughing, Zuo solemnly said, "Attention, what I'm saying below is confidential. You can learn, but you are not allowed to leak it. Any violation of military law will be dealt with." Seeing the students nodding solemnly, Zuo Chong continued with satisfaction, "This shooting technique was developed by me during my free time. You can also call it the left action method, but it also has some drawbacks. The main reason is that the practice is complex, and long-range shooting is not as accurate as other shooting methods. To be honest, this shooting method is not perfect." When Zuo Chong was shooting at a foreign shooting range, his coach also told him not to blindly believe in a certain skill, but to choose the appropriate skill. Section 7 Lieutenant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zuo Chong taught the students what the shooting coach had said in his memory and the CR shooting points he had come up with. In addition to CR, Zuo Chong filtered out CQB knowledge from limited memory and also built a simulated house with cardboard in the police academy for team training. These things are just illustrations and lack sufficient professional equipment, but they are enough to teach the spies of this era. The name of left-heavy tactical master is well known. In 1933, Zuo Chong spent the first new year of this era in the police academy, playing and frolicking with his students, which felt quite good. Not long after the new year, the students of the first special training class graduated and had basically become qualified intelligence personnel. Dai Chunfeng came from Jinling specifically to attend the graduation ceremony. Dai Chunfeng first went to watch the drill, accompanied by Zuo Chong. The students were practicing the so-called leftist action method, and the audience was dazzled. Dai Chunfeng nodded repeatedly and said, "Shenzhong, you need to summarize yours was action method. Don't underestimate good things. The German-made PPK is also good, and now the department is starting to replace the old Browning. How is the trial situation of the flash bomb you mentioned? Yes, in addition to training, Zuo Chong also made some new equipment, such as flash bomb. Flash grenades are not high-end equipment. The construction of grenades produces dazzling strong light by burning magnesium or potassium, as Zuo Chong remembers from the documentary. Zuo Chong gave the general principle to Dai Chunfeng, who instructed the Jinling arsenal to produce a batch, and now the special training class is conducting testing. Zuo Chong respectfully said, "Teacher, you see, the students are now simulating entering the house to arrest enemy intelligence personnel. In the past, they had to rely on shooting and reaction speed to subdue the opponent. Now with the flare, you can temporarily blind the other person. As an expert in action, you naturally know how important this is." Shenzhong, you really speak well. Dai Chunfeng laughed twice, feeling that Zuo Chong understood him. The life and death battle, let alone a few seconds, is just a matter of the blink of an eye. This way, we can still catch a living. The flash grenade is indeed good, and Dai Chunfeng decided to go back and customize another batch. On the playground, Dai Chunfeng was very satisfied with the agile postures and sharp movements of the students. Zuo Chong was not only a smart and handsome person, but also had a lot of research on action techniques. For talents who are useful to oneself, Dai Chunfeng naturally won't be stingy. The left collar has an additional horizontal bar and a small triangle above it, indicating the rank of second lieutenant. However, the highest rank among other students was only a sergeant, and the lowest rank was only a corporal. Zuo Chong suddenly distanced himself from his former classmates. Looking at his military uniform and rank, Zuo Chong couldn't help but think of the song, "Becoming a Soldier," in San Mao's records of joining the army, which made him want to laugh. "Shenzhong, the chairman attaches great importance to the canned food plan, and I heard that you are a fellow villager, which is why we have specially approved your rank as a second lieutenant." Dai Chunfeng said kindly, reminding Zuo Chong how difficult it is to obtain this rank. Dai Chunfeng laughed when he heard that he was still in front of the party in the state, and said, "Sit down. At the beginning of the establishment of the Secret Service, the chairman told me to learn from the water margin. When the heroes of Liangshan gathered at the Zhongyi Hall, their actions were actions and intelligence." Upon hearing this, Zuo Chong felt speechless. He truly deserved to be a bandit army. Can't we use the example of the Jinyi way? We must use bandits and mountain bandits. Dai Chunfeng took a sip of tea, leaving time for Zuo Chong to ponder, and then continued, "So the chairman attaches great importance to intelligence work. There are 3 departments under the Military Commission's Investigation and Statistics Bureau. One is the Special Agent Headquarters, internally. The second one is our Secret Service Office, external. You don't need to understand that the 3 departments are responsible for postal and telecommunications control. In addition, the Nanchang camp also has an investigation department responsible for intelligence on the southwest front. The 2 internal departments include the Investigation Department, General Affairs Department, Operations Department, and Communication Department. There are several regional stations in the field organization, as well as some overseas organizations. That's probably it. As you gradually get to know, you'll know which department you want to go to. Speak up and let the teacher decide for you." "Students follow the teacher's arrangements," said Zuo Chong obediently. "Then let's go to the reconnaissance department. We happen to lack a team leader. Work hard and I will be of great use to you in the future. You can also report any situation directly to me." Zuo Chong was lost in thought. It seemed that Dai Chunfeng had not yet fully mastered the Secret Service, and even the reconnaissance department of the Corps Department was facing a surge of undercurrents. However, this has something to do with Zuo Chong. Apart from catching Japanese people, at other times he decided to become a salary thief and work tirelessly. There is naturally no farewell dinner for the special training class, and those military and police officers will continue to work in their respective systems in the future, with only an additional identity as intelligence officers. Other ordinary students who perform well will be added to the internal office of the department, while those who perform poorly will be assigned to local field stations or even overseas. Many students came to bid farewell to Zuo Chong before leaving, and even Gui Youguang came shyly. Zuo Chong discovered that before others could enter the secret service, students had already spread across several departments, which made him unable to laugh or cry. A few more days later, a new group of members from the special training class arrived. Zuo Chong was surprised to find that there were many people from Jiangshan, who were fellow villagers of Dai Chunfeng. It seemed that he was planning for the future. After so many people were involved in the intelligence struggle and drove away the Japanese, how many people were still alive? Zhong left school with a mixed mood and headed for the train station. At this time, from Hangzhou to Jinling, you need to take a train to Shanghai first, and then take the Shanghai-Nanjing Railway to Jinling. 5 hours after boarding the train from Hangzhou, the steam train arrived in Shanghai, the most modern city in Asia of this era. Zuo Chong was not in a hurry to report to the Secret Service, so he casually found a place to stay and called a yellow charter car to start his journey to Shanghai in the 1930s. Even though returning from modern times, everything on the road still dazzles Zuo Chong, with luxurious foreign cruise ships on the Huangpu River and Chinese wooden boats on the Suzhou River. The middle-class waiting for the public tram on the roadside, the poor women searching for useful things in the waste, and the diverse citizens are vividly displayed in front of Zuo Chong. At the same time, he also saw the concessions, the domineering white Russian thugs, the San patrolling with wooden sticks, the black gang dressed in silk clothes under the lights and wine, and the large class of the foreign firm dressed in suits. The Chinese people are at the bottom of this biosphere, and anyone can oppress and exploit them. Along the way, Zuo Chong saw merchants being bullied by gangs, children being bullied by patrols, and refugees begging everywhere. At this moment, Zuo Chong suddenly realized why so many people were willing to give up their superior material conditions, even betraying their own social class and shedding their blood. Coming to Shanghai once and receiving patriotic education, Zuo Chong felt that he was not at a disadvantage. The yellow charter car finally stopped at the entrance of the Huamao Hotel, and Zuo Chong felt that this building, even if placed in modern times, would not be outdated. It would naturally be even more spectacular in this era. The hotel is located on the Bund, which is also the beginning of Shirley Yangchang. At this time, the Bund has already formed a somewhat futuristic pattern and is the busiest place. Zuo Chong strolled around the hotel, preparing to select some gifts for his family in Dai Chunfeng. After strolling around, I realized that wealthy people are the ones who enjoy the most no matter which era they are in. Fashionable products from all over the world are available in Shanghai. Even if not available, orders can still be placed through the store. The service attitude is much better than the legendary shopping malls where Chinese and foreign salespeople cannot enter. "Help me, please, let me go." After buying a gift, Zuo Chong went to a coffee shop to pass the time. Suddenly, he heard someone calling for help. Zuo Chong threw down a few bills and walked over to follow the sound. Several white drunkards are entangled with a flower girl, both sides torn apart. But the patrolman and Chinese people next to them were just pointing, and no one stood up to stop them. Zuo Chong walked forward with a calm face. His combat skills were only average in the police academy, but he still had no problem dealing with a few drunkards. Taking advantage of the fact that the drunkards were not paying attention, Zuo Chong, who was quietly approaching, suddenly got up and hit the first drunkard's head with a whip leg. With a loud bang, he kicked him out a few meters away, causing the drunkard to twitch twice and remain motionless. Before anyone else could react, Zuo Chong pulled the second white man's head in front of him and hit his face hard with his knee, causing him to faint. The last of the three troublemakers was left, staring foolishly at Zuo Chong, who was like a tiger descending the mountain. "Let go of her!" Zuo Ju shouted angrily in English. The last drunkard trembled with fear and instinctively let go of the entangled flower girl, trembling as he said, "Chinese people, this is a public concession, you can't do this." The patrol who had just pretended to be dead also reacted and ran over cursing, shouting, "Don't move." Zuo Chong ignored them and walked up to the flower girl, whispering to her to leave quickly. He wanted to save people, not harm them. "I am also a soldier of the Republic of China, and the patrols and the concessions are not easy to take action, but if a flower girl is caught, she will be unlucky." The stunned flower girl nodded and quickly shook her head as Yu read a book www.yuukeungshu.net. Zuo Chong is her life-saving benefactor. If she leaves, will she still be considered a human? A small person has their own views on good and evil. Lazy to tug and tug, Zuo Chong shouted, "Hurry up, you're helping me when you leave." The flower girl nodded and picked up the flower basket on the ground before running. The patrolman wanted to chase after her, but found that the Chinese people watching were blocking the road to death, even if they used batons to drive her away. Zuo Chong's heart warmed. Although they didn't have the courage to stand up and resist, they still had conscience in their hearts. Turning around, Zuo Chong looked at the slowly approaching patrol and disdainfully said, "I am a soldier of the Republic of China. You guys, get lost." The patrols naturally didn't care about the Republic of China soldiers. This was a public concession, but when Zuo Chong lifted his clothes and exposed his PPK, the patrols holding batons suddenly became reasonable and took the initiative to give way. "Are you in a panic? You must be in a panic." Because he knew that if he really wanted to be arrested by the police, not to mention his fellow townspeople, someone could even sacrifice their own son for the so-called stability of a friendly country. It was not until he left the public concession and repeatedly confirmed that no one was following him that Zuo Chong called a yellow charter car and returned to the hotel. After this incident, Zuo Chong was no longer interested in visiting Shanghai. After all, no matter how developed and prosperous it was also a concession. Lying on the bed in the hotel at night, Zuo Chong noticed that there seemed to be something wrong with the phone reward system, and after several months, none of the battery had dropped. Looking at the functions such as SMS and radio on the desktop, Zuo Chong was lost in thought and then set a password for turning on and locking the screen. The next day, Zuo Chong took the train again and even tasted the Republic of China train food during the period. The taste was indescribable. In the afternoon, Zuo Chong finally arrived in Jinling, the capital of the Republic of China, and began his career in the Secret Service. Section 8 Appointment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Carrying my luggage, I followed the address given by Dai Chunfeng and crossed the narrow street, then made a left turn to reach 53 GE Lane outside a small courtyard. There were several armed sentries standing at the entrance, vigilantly watching the passers-by, and the passers-by also avoided this courtyard as if they had seen a ghost. Zuo Chong handed over the dispatch documents to the sentry and stood outside the courtyard to observe the terrain. Inside the courtyard was an old-style bungalow courtyard, which appeared to have a backyard in addition to the front courtyard, but the area was not large. Zuo Chong was a bit puzzled. Later, the infamous Military Statistics Bureau was located in this courtyard. Just as he was puzzled, a familiar voice said, "Shenzhong, you've come to calculate." Zuo Chong looked up and smiled, "Brother Gongshu, long time no see." The person who came was Chen Gongshu with a smile on his face. The two of them once worked together to perfect the canned food plan, and their friendship was not shallow. Now that they meet again, they are naturally happy. Chen Gongshu looked at the young man in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. He thought of him as a graduate of the 5th phase of the Huangpu Military Academy, a member of the Honggong Temple Special Training Class, sitting beside him with a rank of 2nd lieutenant, and only serving as the leader of the action department. But at the age of only 19, Zuo Chong already holds the rank of 2nd lieutenant and holds at least one position as a team leader. People cannot be compared to each other. Who would make them feel like they are fellow villagers with the chairman and the office seat? "Lieutenant Zuo, take your seat to meet with the chairman. Before leaving, let me lead you to your position." "No, I waited for you all day before coming," said Chen Gongshu warmly. Zuo Chong looked flattered and said, "It's really a sin. I arrived in Shanghai late yesterday, so I had to arrive in Jinling today. Brother Gongshu, don't mention any second lieutenant. Let's have a good gathering tonight." Both inside and outside of Zuo Chong's words, he placed himself very low and had no intention of being on an equal footing with Chen Gongshu. Only then did Chen Gongshu realize that Zuo Chong was young and mature, and his seasoned way of dealing with people was not just pretending. Chen Gongshu took Zuo Chong through the program at the spy office, and Zuo Chong was officially employed. However, he only then realized that Dai Chunfeng had appointed him as the leader of the anti-espionage team in the investigation department. The chief of the reconnaissance department and Lieutenant Officer Zhao Lijun received Zuo Chong. Zuo Chong found that this person should be from Sichuan, with a somewhat difficult accent. They were not familiar with each other on the first meeting, and Zhao Lijun only exchanged a few simple greetings before seeing off the guests. Zuo Chong's lukewarm attitude made him somewhat worried. Chen Gongshu saw this and revealed, "We are classmates in the special training classes at Huanpu and Honggong Temple. Zhao Lijun has a deep understanding of the city and is ruthless. He is called the chasing Tai Sui from outside. You must be careful when you work under him in the future, and if not, there will still be room for him." Zuo Chong nodded repeatedly on his face, but in his heart, he thought that Chen Gongshu was just a team leader who was well-rounded. Zhao Lijun was already the head of the department and also in charge of a crucial department like the investigation department. He needed to be careful. The Internal Affairs Department arranged an office for Zuo Chong, although it was not large, Zuo Chong was very satisfied. After all, the conditions of the Secret Service office were like this, and having a separate office was considered good. The anti-spy team is one of the many teams in the investigation department, responsible for the anti-spy reconnaissance activities of the military and political departments. Is it foolish for Dai Chunfeng to let Zuo Chong take on such an important position? Chen Gongshu privately revealed that the predecessor of the Secret Service was a secret investigation team and a liaison team, including Dai Chunfeng, with a total of 10 people, also known as the 10-person team. Among them were Dai Chunfeng's classmates and benefactors, as well as seniors who had made great contributions to the chairman, and assassins with strong mobility. Originally, everyone worked for the chairman with one heart, so they could naturally work together in the same boat. However, now that the chairman has firmly established himself in the world, these 10 people have started to collude and compete for power and profit. Originally, the position of the head of the anti-espionage team was being contested by all parties. Although Dai Chunfeng was the director, he needed to weigh the pros and cons and even sought cooperation through concessions. However, Zuo Chong was the second lieutenant personally appointed by the chairman, and no one could say anything. At the end of the day, Zuo Chong was just a chess piece, which could be said to have benefited a fisherman. Zuo Chong suddenly realized that he was promoted by the political enemies of Dai Chunfeng. He was really a good person. "Brother Gongshu, I just joined and don't have much experience. How should I carry out the work of the espionage team?" Zuo Chong put on a worried expression, trying to probe Chen Gongshu's tone. The political intelligence of the military and political departments is the responsibility of the Special Agents Headquarters, and there are battalion investigation departments and Kongzai's special forces in the southwest. "Brother, you can occasionally visit the military and political organs," Chen Gongshu revealed. Oh, it turned out to be a decoration, and Zuo Chong suddenly realized it. However, after hearing about the investigation department and the special forces in southwest China, Zuo Chong decided to have a chance to investigate. It would be even better if he could do something about it. Zuo Chong's heart suddenly moved. Chen Gongshu was overly enthusiastic, but when he thought about the responsibilities of the anti-espionage team he was responsible for, Zuo Chong probably knew why. "Brother Gongshu, I'm new here for the first time. If there are any areas I don't understand in the future, I need your guidance more. So, if you need anything in the future, just speak up." Zuo Chong patted his chest, promising. Upon hearing this, Chen Gongshu laughed heartily. He said so much just for the sake of this sentence. Relying solely on the salary paid by the Secret Service, everyone would have starved to death long ago. The anti-espionage team responsible by Zuo Chong is a powerful department. As long as there are people suspected of being spies, then I can't help but trouble my younger brother in the future. As he was speaking, Su Mingho, the deputy leader of the espionage team, came to pay his respects to the new boss. This person was very greasy, with 2 out of 3 sentences laughing, making it slippery and irresistible. Through Su Mingho's introduction, Zuo Chong also had a rough understanding of the situation of the anti-spy team. There were a total of 11 members in the anti-spy team, including him. Before Zuo Chong arrived, he temporarily supported the work. Zuo Chong knows that this person is an old oilseed. If you treat him politely, he can ride your neck and defecate. Therefore, Zuo Chong sometimes gently woos and sometimes beats a warning. Chen Gongshu, a popular figure, is sitting next to him, using a big flag as tiger skin. It's not worth it. Zuo Chong said in an official voice, Deputy Leader Su, the office told me that intelligence work is more important than Taishan. But after your introduction, I think the spy prevention team can work harder. In the future, we will play the same game. You should help me more. Su Mingho didn't expect the new team leader to be young, but his wrist was not simple, and he was red-faced and red-eared after being retrained by Zuo. But give a sweet date with a stick, and Zuo Chong happily agreed to the reception banquet tonight. Chen Gongshu originally wanted to watch the excitement on the side, but as he watched the left-heavy driver skillfully controlling the situation, he couldn't help but sigh that some people are born for big scenes. In the evening, as part of the anti-espionage team, Chen Gongshu summoned several officials from the operations department to accompany him and set up several tables in a grand manner, which allowed Zuo Chong to familiarize himself with his network. But Zhao Lijun didn't come. In theory, this kind of reception banquet, besides having deep hatred, there was no need for the boss to disrespect him like this. On the surface, it didn't matter, but Zuo Chong remembered this in his heart. He carefully observed the members of the anti-espionage team, wanting to see how they reacted. Song Mingho pretended to drink as if nothing had happened, while some of the other team members blushed and some seemed to have not paid attention to the matter. In short, each had their own thoughts. However, Zuo Chong was pleasantly surprised to find that one of his team members was a special training class member, who seemed to be named Wu Chunyang. He usually performed normally and was even able to be assigned to the headquarters. Wu Chunyang was also pleasantly surprised to see Zuo Chong. He had just arrived at the Secret Service and had no connections. He only heard that a new team leader was coming, but he didn't expect to be the instructor of the special training class. After seeing him, Zuo Chong didn't say anything, just gave him a wink. Wu Chunyang knew that he didn't want to expose their relationship and immediately returned to normal. Everyone finished drinking until they were almost fully satisfied. After all, they had their own business to do the next day. Zuo Chong is currently living in a dormitory in the backyard of the Secret Service because he doesn't have a place to live yet. He plans to go out and rent a house as soon as possible. However, after returning to the dormitory, he found out that Dai Chunfeng also lived in the backyard. After some thought, Zuo Chong decided to pay a visit. It would be bad if Dai Chunfeng knew he was living in the backyard and wouldn't come to see him. Taking out the gift purchased during a trip to Shanghai from my luggage, I adjusted my clothes and knocked heavily on the door of Dai Chunfeng's house. The nanny opened the door, and Dai Chunfeng had already separated from his wife and now lives alone. Dai Chunfeng is handling business in the study and is very happy to hear that Zuo Chong has arrived. He asked the nanny to bring Zuo Chong to the study. As soon as we met, Dai Chunfeng smiled and asked Yu to sit down, saying, Shenzhong, I can rest assured that you have come to the investigation department. Today, when I saw the chairman, I even asked you, a little fellow villager. Zuo Chong sat on a stool with half his butt straight and said, "It's an honor for students to be able to serve the chairman and the teacher." He used to read official novels, so that's why. After speaking, Zuo Chong took out a small box and placed it on the desk. He said awkwardly, "This is the first time the students have come to pay their respects. I have brought you a gift, teacher." Dai Chunfeng said solemnly, "Just come and bring something." "Shenzhong, teacher, I have always been honest like water. You don't know how many pairs of eyes are staring at the teacher now. Take it back quickly." Upon hearing Dai Chunfeng's words, Zuo Chong suppressed his laughter and confidently said, "It is only natural for students to give gifts to teachers. I noticed that your previous pen was a bit worn out. When I passed by Shanghai, I selected a Parker Dove gold pen for you." Dai Chunfeng pointed at him and nodded, unsure of what to say. Upon second thought, he realized that the golden pen given by his own student was a beautiful conversation, not to mention bribery. Zuo Chong is also a carefully selected gift. For people like Dai Chunfeng, it's not uncommon to give him gold, silver, and jewelry. You should give something that fits your heart. In the future, when he writes and signs, he will think of Zuo Chong when he sees this. Next, Dai Chunfeng chatted with Zuo Chong again, and the canned food plan had already begun. The chairman once again praised the Secret Service. However, Dai Chunfeng did not mention the specific implementation of the plan, such as where the detailed address is and how many people there are. Zuo Chong doesn't ask, being too curious is not a good thing. It was getting late, and when Zuo Chong saw Dai Chunfeng feeling tired, he took a deep breath and said goodbye. However, Dai Chunfeng took out a document from the drawer and asked Zuo to take a closer look. Section 9 Strange Cases. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zuo Chong opened the file in confusion and found that it was a case handled by the Jinling police station. It's not a big deal either. The International Red Cross visited China and a piece of jewelry was lost in the room of the British Countess, who was part of the visiting delegation. The problem is that the chairman's wife arranged the visiting delegation in Tongshen Sanatorium to entertain so-called international friends. Tongshen Sanatorium is a place for military and political officials to rest and recuperate, with strict security measures. The service personnel in the sanatorium are also carefully selected and reliable, and have never made mistakes in the past. How did the thief steal the jewelry from such a place? After investigation by the Jinling Police Bureau, no discovery was made. What's even more strange is that the cook in the nursing home suddenly hanged to death, with lost jewelry lying under his feet. Involving international friends and risking lives in places of power and influence, the Jinling police station was unable to investigate, so this case was submitted. After Dai Chunfeng received the case, he also had a big head and thought that Zuo Chong's mind might be lively, maybe he could see some clues. Zuo Chong frowned. This case seemed simple, and the thief committed suicide under pressure. But the problem is, how did he steal it and why did he commit suicide? Each sanatorium has its own division of labor, and a chef visiting the guest room is already very conspicuous. Why did the police investigate before and not find anything, and then he eagerly committed suicide? The file also states that because the body could not be preserved, the police burned the cook's body, leaving only one autopsy document. A theft case has now become an unfounded case. Zuo Chong asked curiously, "Teacher, this case is a bit strange, but shouldn't it be a case from our secret service?" Dai Chunfeng's face darkened as he said, "It's not like those petty people from the spy headquarters spreading rumors and causing trouble in front of the chairman. The chairman naturally won't fall for it, but since the establishment of the spy office, it has cost a lot and must be explained to everyone. I see, this is a struggle between two secret agencies, but it has nothing to do with Zuo Chong. His thoughts are all on the case file. In modern times, it's not his turn as a detective to solve homicide cases. Now that there is such an opportunity, Zuo Chong must want to do his old job again." After much thought, Zuo Chong had a rough idea in his mind and looked up, saying, "Teacher, let me handle this case, but the work of the espionage team. You don't need to worry about this, I will go talk to Zhao Lijun. If it doesn't work out, just treat it as a matter of fear and suicide. The important thing is to resolve this matter as soon as possible," Dai Chunfeng said decisively. "Yes, teacher." After bidding farewell to Dai Chunfeng, Zuo Chong returned to the dormitory and pondered the case repeatedly, without any drowsiness. Dai Chunfeng learned that the lamp in Zuo Chong's room had not been extinguished overnight, and he said to himself that he had instructed something, but Shen eventually took it seriously. In the morning, Zuo Chong went to Zhao Lijun's place to report and explain the task given to him by Dai Chunfeng. Zhao Lijun is indeed a bit dissatisfied with Zuo Chong, because Su Mingho, the deputy leader of the anti-espionage team, gave him a considerable amount of property in order to secure the position of the team leader. Everything was going smoothly originally, and every aspect of the secret service was well managed. However, a left-handed person jumped out and occupied the position. Now Zhao Lijun has become indecisive. He has spent all the money he received. After all, Zhao Lijun has managed to stabilize Su Mingho and promised to promote him if there is a chance in the future. Zhao Lijun was no longer satisfied with Zuo Chong, but he dared not go against Dai Chunfeng's instructions. After thinking for a while, Zhao Lijun pretended not to give up and said, "Captain Zuo, there is a shortage of vehicles in the office now, and several cars in the department are still in use. We can only work hard for Captain Zuo." Zuo Chong didn't get angry and replied with a soft smile, "It's okay, Chief. I'm still young, so it's not worth taking a long walk." Zuo Chong naturally won't get angry on the spot. Zhao Lijun's small trick can only be disgusting and disgusting. If you don't have a car, just borrow it. He turned around and borrowed an old Xuefu from Qingongshu, and took Wu Chunyang to Tongshen Sanatorium because he didn't know how to drive cars from the Republican era. On the way, Wu Chunyang excitedly said, "Instructor, I didn't expect to see you again. Well, let's communicate more in the future." Zuo Chong didn't know Wu Chunyang's background, so he couldn't say anything more and could only listen to his words and observe his actions. The sanatorium is located about 20 kilometers east of Zhongshan Gate in Jinling. The car is an old American car and the road is poor. It took the car a while to reach the entrance of Tongshen Sanatorium. Due to a homicide, the gate is now tightly locked, with several soldiers standing at the entrance, led by a second lieutenant. The second lieutenant carefully registered the documents of the two individuals and checked the cars before releasing them. "Brother, have all the inspections in the past been so detailed?" asked the passengers left heavy. Curiously, the second lieutenant looked up at him and said, "The people who come and go here are all high-ranking officials and dignitaries. If we keep tinkering like this, we will be scolded. However, only familiar people and cars can enter, and those who are not familiar will be checked and registered. This is in line with reality. Many places claim to be heavily guarded, but in fact, it is only aimed at ordinary people." Zuo Chong does not believe that Dai Chunfeng will come and will also be registered for inspection. The car was driving inside the sanatorium, and Zuo Chong noticed that the scenery was really beautiful. The hot springs flowing down from the Tongshen Mountains continued to trickle down, and from a distance, one could see the steaming hot air, as if shrouded in fairy mist. No wonder high-ranking officials enjoyed it so much. In the distance, there were bursts of laughter, and Zuo Chong saw several young men in the shape of young masters, playing and frolicking with a group of dusty women. The patrolling sentries also turned a blind eye. Zuo Chong frowned. How could anyone come in? Why didn't the Jinling police station notice? I'm afraid even if they did, they wouldn't dare to ask these young masters. After parking, Zuo Chong did not directly go to the leader of the sanatorium, but turned around along the fence of the sanatorium. From the beginning of its design, Tongshen Sanatorium was designed to serve military and political elites, with safety being the top priority. Therefore, the walls are not only high but also equipped with barbed wire. There are troops stationed throughout the Tongshen area, as there is the Tangshan Artillery School and private villas of military and political figures. For example, there is a villa in the nearby mountains with bald heads. In this situation, the thief dared to steal jewelry from the countess's room, which could be considered audacious. However, such a bold person was so frightened that he hanged himself. Zuo Chong sneered and said, "Wu Chunyang, what would you do if you stole the jewelry and caused a shocking incident?" Wu Chunyang scratched his head and said, "Team leader, the sanatorium is so big that you can hide anything. When the examination is less strict, just take it out." "Yeah, that's why there's a problem." Zuo Chong turned his hand back and seemed to have thought of something. After speaking, Zuo Chong didn't hesitate and directly approached the director of the sanatorium. The director was a lieutenant colonel and Zuo Chong was a small lieutenant. When he saw someone, he naturally stood at attention and saluted. The dean heard from Zuo Chong that he was the person sent by the Secret Service to solve the case, and he was very enthusiastic. If the case was not solved, he also felt pressure. Therefore, he specially sent his secretary to cooperate with the investigation. Zuo Chong asked his secretary to transfer the files of all the service personnel in the sanatorium, totaling more than 200 people, and more than 50 people can freely enter the guest room area at any time. These over 50 people are mostly service personnel, all of whom are women in their teens and 20s. The files of the sanatorium are very detailed, and there are even photos. In addition to personal information, there is also information about important family members, and there are records of who recommended the person for bail. After flipping through the pages, it was found that these girls were mostly distant relatives of military and political officials. When they arrived, they had already undergone background checks, and having a clean family background was a basic requirement. Among the remaining over 100 people in the sanatorium, the sources are complex, with chefs from a certain restaurant in Jinling, gardeners from a certain mansion, and cleaners from disaster victims in Jiangbei, among others. After flipping through a few random photos, Zuo Chong lost interest. The files of these people were very simple, with no photos or background checks, only basic information such as names, ages, and addresses. Although there was no gain, Zuo Chong confirmed an idea that the work of the nursing home room service staff is very important, otherwise the nursing home would not have put so much effort into filing. Zuo Chong asked the dean's secretary, "Do your sanatorium often hold meetings?" The secretary was taken aback and said, "Yes, the chairman and his wife really like the hot springs in Tangshan. Some military and political meetings are held here. Let's take me to the crime room to take a look." Zuo Chong decided to go and see the crime scene. So the secretary led Zuo Chong and Wu Chunyang from the office building to the guest room area. The outer perimeter of the guest room was also surrounded by a wall, and Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net was also equipped with barbed wire mesh. Entering the guest room area requires passing through an iron gate, and there are also several soldiers guarding it. How did the chef get in? Did he climb over the wall or didn't the guards care? However, looking at the lazy and scattered appearance of the guards, Zuo Chong estimated that he didn't pay attention. The countess and her entourage live in a single-door, courtyard, Western-style residence. The first floor is the living room and entourage room, and the second floor is the master bedroom suite. As stated in the dossier, the countess is sure to lock the door of the suite every time she goes out. Zuo Chong walked silently to the entrance of the suite, glanced at it, and angrily said, "Who replaced the door lock? I don't even know the simple truth of protecting the scene." The secretary was also taken aback and hurriedly explained, "Sir, calm down. I can guarantee that the scene is like this. The countess moved into the city after the incident, and there are currently no other guests in the guest room area. Apart from the police station, no one else has come here." Twisting the well-functioning door lock, Zuo Chong didn't say anything and walked directly into the guest room. Inside, the situation remained the same as on the day of the crime, indicating that the Jinling police station was not entirely a waste. The things in the room were turned upside down, all the drawers were opened, and even the mattress was removed. After turning left again, I walked to the window and opened it, only to find that there was nothing. Zuo Chong stood by the window without speaking, and Wu Chunyang and his secretary remained silent. After a while, Zuo Chong turned on the electric light in the room and carefully observed the ground. Unfortunately, the incident has been going on for many days now, and the footprints in the room are very chaotic, making it difficult to see anything. Zuo Chong walked to the bedside again and lowered his head to look at the bottom of the bed. It was very clean, as if it had been specially cleaned. Zuo Chong's face was solemn. This was not a jewelry theft case or a simple murder case. Zuo Chong directly asked his secretary to take him to the phone room and report important information to Dai Chunfeng. Section 10 Spy. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Hello, help me connect with 53 GE Lane, 2564. After finishing speaking, Zuo Chong anxiously waited for the phone to be answered. He looked at his secretary and Wu Chunyang, and Zuo Chong signaled for them to go out first. Hello, I'm Dai Chunfeng. The operator was proficient in his business, and soon Dai Chunfeng's voice appeared in the microphone. Zuo Chong didn't say anything and expressed his own judgment. What? I'm about to arrive, you immediately control the sanatorium. Dai Chunfeng in the office was also anxious and stood up directly. This was a earth-shattering event, even his voice trembled a bit. Upon receiving the order, Zuo Chong led Wu Chunyang to the entrance of the sanatorium. Zuo Chong ordered the guards at the entrance to set down the roadblock and not allow anyone to leave. The second lieutenant at the door hesitated a bit and said, "Brother, I am just a second lieutenant. Who can obey my orders? I'm here, I'll take care of anyone who has a problem." Zuo Chong was resolute, as if he had guessed, then this matter was too big. What are you afraid of? After a while, a few young masters were driving out and cursing at the roadblock, asking people to take them away. Zuo Chongkai didn't care about anything else and walked over and said directly, "The Secret Service is handling affairs, no one is allowed to leave." Damn it! The young master, who was led by him, looked at Zuo Chong contemptuously. Do you know who my father is? Go away, don't go away. I'll kill you. Wu Chunyang, draw your gun. Anyone who goes out will be shot to death. Zuo Chong pulled out his pistol and aimed it at the young master. This situation scared the woman in the car into crying and howling, and the little white face turned even whiter. With courage and trembling, she said, "My father is Huang Jun, the confidential secretary of the Executive Yuan, and he is familiar with Director Wang. Please move aside, and let's forget about this matter today." Wu Chunyang on the side was almost crying, his gun couldn't be held steady, and the team leader caused a big trouble. The confidential secretary of the Executive Yuan and Dean Wang, who are these people? Can they also offend me? Zuo Chong exclaimed expressionlessly, "I don't care who your father is. I have received a military order that no one is allowed to enter or exit. Guards, stop those who leave, otherwise military law will prevail." The guards at the door looked at each other, but since someone was carrying the blame, they could only stop a few service personnel who wanted to go out to purchase, and the number of people at the door gradually increased. "What are you doing?" "I'm going out to buy some foreign fire for Mr. Minister." "What kind of thing are you?" "Move away quickly." "Boss, the chef is going out to buy groceries, which delayed the VIP's meal. We can't afford to eat." Many people started shouting, and the guards dared not really take action against them. Seeing the situation about to lose control, Zuo Chong's eyes were gloomy, and he directly pulled the trigger with his gun pointing upwards. Bang! "If you have to move forward again, just shoot it down," Zuo Chong sternly reprimanded. The crowd at the entrance quieted down, and some people were so scared that they ran back to the nursing home. The young masters were also honest, knowing that if they forcibly left, the person in front of them would really dare to shoot. At that moment, a black sedan and several trucks drove up from the foot of the mountain. Zuo glanced again and found that it was Dai Chunfeng's car. He finally breathed a sigh of relief. If Dai Chunfeng didn't come again, he might really want to make a fool of himself. Dai Chunfeng had just heard gunshots and thought something was wrong. He quickly asked the driver to speed up, but only when he arrived at the door did he realize that the entrance and exit were already controlled by Zuo Chong, and his heart sank into his stomach. Zuo Chong walked up to Dai Chunfeng and whispered, "Teacher, after I finished calling, no one left the sanatorium." Dai Chunfeng said with satisfaction, "You did a good job in the end. If something really happens, we will never redeem it." "So, what happened just now? Why did you shoot?" The son of Huang Jun, the confidential secretary of the executive Yuan, brought several young gentlemen and women to break through the card. It is said that this Huang secretary has a close relationship with Director Wang, and does he want a seat? Zuo Chong calmly applied eye drops to Xiao Bai's face. Sure enough, Dai Chunfeng sneered at the words and said, "What kind of nonsense confidential secretary? You really treat yourself like a dish. If Dean Wang has any objections, I will explain." In fact, Zuo Chong knew that President Wang and Bald Head had been fighting openly and secretly for many years, and how could Dai Chunfeng care about President Wang's opinion? Now that the matter is of great importance, Huang Jun's son jumped out, perhaps using this to strike a blow to President Wang's recent ups and downs. Dai Chunfeng not only came by himself, but also brought a few trucks of soldiers. With one command, these soldiers took over the defense of Tongshen Sanatorium. Without his command, no one was allowed to go out. Wu Chunyang, standing beside him, was extremely excited. He had made the right bet. No wonder the instructor went directly from the police academy to the Secret Service office, and could also serve as the leader of the anti-espionage team. Originally, the position was the teacher of the leader. The little white face in the car saw Dai Chunfeng and realized it was actually Director Dai he knew. He quickly got off the car and said, "Director Dai, it's my nephew. My father and I have visited you before. Is there any misunderstanding? My nephew still needs to go home to eat with his mother." Dai Chunfeng hypocritically comforted, "Don't worry, it's just a small matter that requires everyone's cooperation. Just stay here with peace of mind, don't walk around casually, and don't cause trouble for your father." After finishing speaking, Dai Chunfeng left, not giving little white face a chance to continue entanglement. Zuo Chong accompanied Dai Chunfeng towards the sanatorium, and Dai Chunfeng suddenly asked, "Shenzhong, you have some confidence in what you said. In case." Knowing that Dai Chunfeng still had doubts, Zuo Chong directly elaborated on his deductions one by one. "Teacher, when I looked at this case, I felt a bit strange. You said the police didn't even find out why the cook was so anxious to commit suicide, as if he had come up with an excuse for us to close the case. In fact, if it weren't for the many people at the special agent headquarters, I'm afraid this case would have ended. When I arrived here, I found that the situation was not right. Firstly, there were high walls and guards in the sanatorium, and it was the same when going to the guest room area. The presence of strangers would inevitably leave traces, which can rule out outsiders from committing crimes. Secondly, the room has been carefully cleaned, even the bottom of the bed has been cleaned, but there are footprints everywhere else, so I suspect that different people have entered the room. The person in front is very professional, and the person behind is very amateur. Thirdly, the door lock is intact, and those who enter the room one after another either have the key or know how to unlock it. Upon hearing this, Dai Chunfeng was puzzled and said, "Since there is a clue, let's investigate further and see if anyone in the sanatorium has the opportunity to access the key or has a case record." Bending heavily, he whispered, "Teacher, you don't understand these petty thieves. Keeping the door lock intact is to prevent the Countess from discovering it. If it weren't for the amateur people who entered the room later, I don't think the Countess would have noticed the room was stolen at all, at least not so quickly." Dai Chunfeng also felt that there seemed to be something wrong, so he gestured to Zuo Chong to continue speaking. Zuo Chong said, the sanatorium has very strict scrutiny of room service personnel because military and political meetings are often held here. The first thief to enter the room is so professional and has put in so much effort to sneak in, but I haven't heard of anyone losing their property before. It's very contradictory here. Dai Chunfeng agrees. He has also attended meetings in the sanatorium before, not to mention jewelry, even a piece of paper has not been lost. In addition to the strict protection of the attending cadres, the management of the sanatorium is also very strict. Zuo Chong continued, a professional thief has racked his brains to sneak in and haven't stolen anything. It's impossible, so he can only steal something that is difficult to detect. Dai Chunfeng frowned and said, are you saying that? Zuo Chong said with certainty, intelligence. It can only be intelligence. This person entered the room when there was no one around, stole documents that the target did not carry with them, and even investigated the situation of the military and political leaders of the party and country, waiting for an opportunity to assassinate. This is also the concern that the student just mentioned on the phone. Dai Chunfeng stood still. The chairman and his wife did indeed like Tangshan Sanatorium. When they were in Jinling, besides the villa at the foot of the mountain, they would also meet military and political officials here. Shenzhong, be cautious. Do you have any ideas now? The service personnel here have some backgrounds and some methods are not easy to use casually. Dai Chunfeng also felt a headache. Zuo Chong said lightly, teacher, it's really not fake. As long as you carefully screen the personnel files, you will always find something. Well, what's going on with the suicide case? Although the people at Jinling police station are useless, the forensic doctors are still good. It's certain that the chef committed suicide. Dai Chunfeng still felt something was wrong. Then we'll have to catch the spy and ask him. Zuo Chong didn't mention the suspicion of Jinling police station. Then Zuo Chong took Dai Chunfeng to the scene of the crime. Dai Chunfeng carefully observed the door lock and found that it was indeed intact. When he entered the room, he saw the inside that had been overturned and a clean bed underneath. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. As Zuo Chong said, Dai Chunfeng felt that things were really not going well. It should be noted that those who could come to Tangshan for the meeting were important officials from important departments, and the intelligence they had was definitely very important, such as themselves. During the meeting, some documents that were not needed that day would be left in the room. The spy had been lurking for a long time, and how much intelligence had been stolen. Thinking of this, Dai Chunfeng came out. Zuo Chong asked curiously, teacher, isn't the Countess from the Red Cross? Is there any intelligence worth the spy's intervention? If it's not convenient to reveal, then the students won't ask much. Dai Chunfeng smiled bitterly and said, what else is not convenient to reveal now? The Countess is here for the coordinated operation of China and Britain in Southeast Asia. You know, if World War I broke out between China and Japan, it would definitely be difficult for our country to resist, but the Japanese were also drooling over Southeast Asia. The British Overseas Intelligence Agency found that the Japanese were even drawing maps of Myanmar and other places. This intelligence surprised Zuo Chong greatly. He knew that the Japanese were attacking Southeast Asia, but he didn't expect China and Britain to know so early. So why was Britain's resistance in Southeast Asia vulnerable during World War II? The Countess, on behalf of the British government, came to conduct preliminary consultations. In the event of a consensus of interests, the two sides will hold high-level formal talks. If this intelligence is stolen, then... Dai Chunfeng paced in the room and looked up to Zuo Chong, saying, Shenzhong, we must capture the spy as soon as possible and retrieve the intelligence. Zuo Chong shook his head and said, teacher, I'm afraid he has already been sent out. After all, the incident has been so many days. I suspect that this spy is from the Japanese side, because the underground party needs military intelligence from southwest China the most, and the Nanchang camp is their target.